5, and it's live on the Duval Sports Podcast. I'm Andre Ellis, and what an amazing week 4 it was. Some prime time matchups. I looked at week 4 on the schedule before the season started and said this was the week that's going to make or break some teams. This was a week that had some mega matchups all over Northeast Florida, and we're going to get into all of them from week 4 and preview some big matchups in week 5. Can you believe we're almost at the mid-season mark of high school football? Just an amazing time. So before this, let's get to who has the sauce for week 4. I got my sauce right here, man. You serious? It's almost done, man. I've been putting it on everything. Georgia Maize sauce right there. Go to the website, order it online. It's special order, special promo code Duval. Promo code Duval to get 10% off, okay? Duval. So who had the sauce? This was a hard one because both of them are teammates. So we decided to give it to the man who opened it up for the other man, and that was Harrison Garrido. Harrison rushed for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns as Creekside upset Bartram. It was close because his quarterback, Sean Ashenfelder, rushed for 4 touchdowns in the game, but Harrison is one that got him started. Harrison rushed early and often, which opened it up for Sean. So we're going to give it to Harrison, the Duval Sports Week 4 Player of the Week, sponsored by Georgia Maize. Harrison, you already know. You got the sauce, man.
Ready to sauce up your wings, brisket, and veggies? Try Georgia Maize Buffalo Wing Sauce and Georgia Maize Garlic Hot Sauce. Our do-it-all sauces make meal prep quick, convenient, and fun. The smooth finish of our delicious buffalo sauce coats every wing evenly, delivering a flavor-packed bite every single time. Try dipping for even more flavor. Our garlic hot sauce brings any dish to the next level. Shop online at bdscaters.com.
All right, congratulations to Harrison. Now let's talk about the game that he was in. Creekside and Bartram Trail. Bartram was coming off a big win against Ware County last Thursday and was feeling good about themselves. Creekside, on the other hand, had their backs against the wall. They were 0-3, but also had not beaten Bartram Trail since 2014. Just a decade of losing to their rival, Bartram Trail. But this was a different year, and these are different players. And this contest, we knew it was going to be high scoring because both of these teams can put up the points. But man, we did not expect this one for Creekside to come out with the win. It went down to the wire, tied 42-42 with just 50 seconds left. And Sean Ashenfelder, Rutgers commit, took the sneak right up the middle. Bartram couldn't stop that all game. Sean had 4 rushing touchdowns, several of them the quarterback keeper right up the middle. He had a long touchdown run in the game earlier. But that deciding run by Ashenfelder sealed the deal, 49-42. It just went back and forth. Like I said before, Harrison Garrido, he scored 2 touchdowns in the game, ran for 270 yards on the ground. Bartram just could not stop him. But Bartram came back as well. Jaden Weatherly, the quarterback, tossed 2 touchdowns in the game. He also ran a touchdown as well. There were several different rushers for Bartram that scored touchdown, whether it was Arthur Lewis IV, Jaden Weatherly. It was several people that scored touchdowns for Bartram. Even Nico Dawkins also scored on the ground. But in the end, Creekside outlasted them and was able to get the win, the much needed win for Coach McIntyre. Now Creekside has another hard test on their hands coming up as they have Winter Park at home, Winter Park, whereas Bartram Trail is going to try to rebound against Orange Park. Orange Park has only won one game this year, so that was a big time win for Creekside. All right, let's get to probably the biggest matchup of week 4. No, I'm not talking about Bradford Mandarin. That was a big one too, but this one is one that actually featured a state champion, a 2-time state champion at that, Hawthorne. Oakleaf visited Hawthorne. Undefeated Oakleaf went down to Hawthorne and battled them toe to toe. I mean, this game was amazing. Back and forth they went. Let's talk about Oakleaf first. Jack McKissick had a rushing touchdown in the game. My main man, Michael Connor, had a kickoff return for a touchdown in the game. Just spectacular plays being made by both teams. But Hawthorne, they're a 2-time defending champion for a reason. And the game went down to the last second. Amazing. Richard Roundtree Jr. dropped back, threw a Hail Mary, and they came down with it. Just amazing. Decarion DeBose came down with the catch and the win for Hawthorne. It was his second touchdown of the game. Just an amazing game between two great teams. We got to give a shout out to Keenan Johnson. Man, this running back, senior, 5'11", 200, rushed for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. So Oakleaf could not stop the running game of Hawthorne. Hawthorne's got some big boys up front. So this is the first time that Oakleaf met a team that can match them physically, because Oakleaf is big and physical up front on their defensive line too. So they actually matched up well against Oakleaf, and Hawthorne took advantage of that for rushing for over 200 yards, something no other team had done so far this year. But Oakleaf showed that they are one of the top teams in the state, okay, going toe-to-toe on the road against a 2-time state champion. 2 amazing coaches. Coach Ingram down in Hawthorne is a great coach down there, who is really building up the program, doing some great things for the athletes. He just had a street named after him because he's brought 2 state championships back to that area. So just really has done a great job. And then of course Coach Foy, coming over from Jackson, is now at Oakleaf. Him and Coach Duval, who was the athletic director over there at Oakleaf. You can see the difference. You can see that there's an edge. They call themselves the Dungeon Family, and they are the Dungeon of Doom. Nobody wants to see Oakleaf. Even though they lost this game on the last seconds, they put the whole state on notice, especially Northeast Florida. We don't want to play Oakleaf. And this week is a big one against Bolles. So, all right, let's finally get to the granddaddy of them all, the one that all eyes were fixed on in Northeast Florida. It was undefeated Bradford welcoming undefeated Mandarin to Stark for this big time matchup. Now, as you know, we had Bradford number 1 in our rankings. We were the only one locally here in town and in the area to have Bradford number 1. The state poll doesn't have Bradford in their top 5. No other publication has Bradford number 1 except for us. We've had Bradford number 1 all season. And in this game, they showed us why. And they showed everyone else why. We watch the games and we know football here at Duval Sports. That's why you tune in. I had to give us a little pat on the back. But now let's get to the game. This game right here was indicative of 2 teams that love to run the ball. And that's what happened in this game. 3 different rushers from Mandarin touched the ball. 5 different rushers for Bradford touched the ball, and one of the first ones to touch the ball for Bradford was Brandon Williams scored as well. Brandon scored on a short touchdown run in the game, and the running game was really working for Bradford. Even though Bradford scored first, Mandarin would score on their own as well. Dante Perry scored a rushing touchdown in the game, and actually Mandarin would go up and lead at halftime. They would lead 7-6. Mandarin's defense would step up as well as that 5-star, Hilton Drake Stubbs. He made a crucial stop on the goal line for a 2-point conversion to stop Bradford. He also had a fumble recovery and return in the game, so he's just a big time player. He's a University Miami commit, and I can't wait to see him down there at the U. But this game went back and forth. Jaquez Cason, this kid does everything. I mean, he scooped up a punt for a touchdown. He makes tackles on special teams and on defense. And on offense, he gets in at running back and scores touchdowns. And he did that against Mandarin. He scored 2 in the contest. Mandarin, now, they didn't fold, and they came back. That freshman phenom connection between Knox Ennis and Bryson Wright hooked up for a big time touchdown, 50-yard touchdown in the game. But in the end, Bradford was just too much. They were able to run out the clock, give the ball to the running backs, Cason and Williams, who ran the clock out. Mandarin couldn't stop him. And Bradford got the big win on the road. Now, this game, although it was a big time matchup, a big win for Bradford, Mandarin added insult to injury, literally, as 5-star Jaime Ffrench fractured his hand in the game in the second quarter. He was already making some highlight moves, getting his team in position to score, and in the second quarter, unfortunately, sustained the injury. So now Mandarin, who started out with a 4-star quarterback in Tremel Jones Jr. and a 5-star wide receiver in Jaime Ffrench. Jaime Ffrench just recently committed to Texas. Of course, Tremel Jones Jr. is a commit to Florida State. Now they'll be without both of them. So they'll have to win without their 2 leaders and 2 big-time offensive players. So they're really going to have to lean on that defense. Israel Ratliff really impressed me. He led everybody in tackles this game. He had 16 tackles in the game. Also, Kamari Spriggs had 12 tackles in the game. So Mandarin's going to have to really rely on them to really lead them, because they've got a freshman quarterback who's really shown promise, and he's done really good. They've got a phenom at wide receiver who can step in, but they're not Jaime Ffrench and they're not Tremel Jones Jr. So Coach Toby and company is going to have to circle the wagons. This was a good test for them. They can regroup and come back. Bradford, on the other hand, man, this was a statement win. A statement win for everybody. That the demise of Bradford was greatly exaggerated. Everybody thought, because they lost a lot of seniors last year, that it was going to be a down year for them, and they're showing not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso says. And I got to see him firsthand. Our Duval sports team got to see him firsthand, and we knew that this is still a great team. This is still a team that can make it to the state championship and win it, and they were our #1 team. All right, now let's get into our Week 5 previews. And let's preview one of the ones I told you was a big matchup, Oakleaf and Bolles. First, let's talk about Bolles. Bolles had a big comeback victory over rival Bishop Kenny. Bishop Kenny thought that they were going to get their second win since the 1970s against Bolles. I mean, they were really taking it to him. J.P. Donovan and company, Caleb Madison, rushing all, over the place, but they could not stop the drum beating. That's Ethan Drum. Ethan tossed 3 touchdowns in the game, tossed all 3 of them to his big-time 4-star wide receiver, Naeem the Dream, Naeem Burrows. He caught 3 touchdowns in the game, led all receivers in that game with 135 yards receiving. Of course, Bolles has Chase Collier at the receiving core as well, so they're dynamic there. But Emmett Grisbin also went off, a dynamic senior running back. He rushed for 213 yards against Bishop Kenny last week. So the rushing game hurt Oakleaf last week against Hawthorne, and if Bolles can exploit whatever Hawthorne saw, Grisbin might have a big day again. He had 2 touchdowns against Bishop Kenny. Of course, we also know the big tight end, Corbin Fordham, is a big weapon for Drum as well, and is a matchup nightmare. On defense, Bolles, Simeon Caldwell, he's made our first team Duval Sports Primetime player last year as a sophomore. He's a junior, and man, he is dynamic. Last game against Bishop Kenny, 14 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, a complete menace. Troy Holloway, another linebacker for them, had 10 tackles in the game. Caldwell also had 2 sacks in the game versus Bishop Kenny. C.J. Ennis had an interception against Bishop Kenny, so that's a player that you need to watch out for in the Bolles secondary. So Bolles has lots of talent that can really go off at any time, and they show that even when they got down, they came back and got off. They will need to not fall behind against Oakleaf, because Oakleaf will make them pay for that. And Oakleaf, Jack McKissick, like we talked about earlier, is a quarterback. He's passed for 4 touchdowns, 765 yards passing this year. They're led in rushing by Christopher Foy II, who has rushed for 574 yards and 6 touchdowns. In the receiving, Jordan Price leads them in receiving with 214 yards receiving, but also Mike O'Connor is another dynamic receiver that they have. He has 190 yards receiving and a touchdown. And then Mr. Everything, the X Factor, Carlos Withrop, also has 189 yards receiving and a touchdown. Mike O'Connor can also do it on special teams. So I would be interesting to see if Bolles ends up trying to kick it to Oakleaf. I wouldn't kick it to Mike. We've all seen him do it too many times. On defense, Jordan Price has an interception on defense. He plays both ways. And then there's Brian Copeland, who leads them in tackles, along with Jermaine Robinson, who is also a leader in tackles. Amari Thomas is one of those big defensive linemen who has been playing really well, along with Anthony Smith, who has been playing really well on the defensive line. Also, you can't forget about that secondary. Of course, we already mentioned Price, but Caleb Singleton is one that you have to watch in that secondary. Also, Maurice Samuels, he has an interception this year. So, Oakleaf has lots of playmakers all over the field that they can shut down certain playmakers. Look for probably Caleb Singleton to match up with Naeem Burrows. That's going to be a good one. We're going to be watching that. We're going to see who can outrush it. Is it Grisbin or is it 4A? Both teams like to run the ball. Who could be more physical? Who could be more physical in this contest will determine it. It's going to be a big one. All right, let's preview another big one. Two undefeated teams, Nease and St Augustine. This one is going to be the battle for St. Johns County. The winner of this one will be King of the Hill, because Nease has already defeated Ponte Vedra. They've already defeated Creekside. And if they can beat St. Augustine, they're the King of the Hill. Okay, but standing in their way is St. Augustine, the defending state runners-up, with their top quarterback Lachlan Hewlett, who has returned. Their top wide receiver, Carl Jenkins Jr., who has returned. Hewlett, of course, is a USF commit, and Jenkins is a UCF commit. So they've got big-time players on the roster, and they showed it last week against Riverside. I mean, that game was a complete shootout, and St. Augustine came out with the win 47-35. I said before last week that in order for Riverside to win, they would have to try to outscore St. Augustine. Why? Because St. Augustine's offense is just so dynamic. And in that game, Lachlan Hewlett passed for 306 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I love to see that. Trendale Anderson, the running back, rushed for 2 touchdowns in that game, but also Preston and Jaquan Lee also rushed for touchdowns in that game. Darrell Preston rushed for a touchdown. And in the receiving, Trenton Jones is back. He was out earlier this year, but he's back. He caught 2 touchdowns from Hewlett against Riverside. Carl Jenkins Jr. caught a touchdown. And of course they have Samarion Wingo, that big time 4-star wide receiver. So they've got some really talented players on the offensive side of the ball. And they will be facing a team quite possibly that has the best defense in the area. Last week they shut out Fletcher 39-0. Just an amazing effort by that defense. Quarterback Nate Harry tossed 2 more touchdowns. KJ Perry rushed for 3 touchdowns and went over the century mark, over 100 yards. And receiving, Maddox Spencer got it going. He caught a touchdown and led everybody in receiving, along with Vernon Stevens. He caught a touchdown as well. He's coming on the scene and really heating up as well. But again, that defense has just been lights out. Noah Hodge led them in tackles, along with Kyle Hurtado. We've mentioned his name before. Jacob Curry had a sack. Chase Bogle. So Nease is just a team that's well balanced and well coached. They study other teams and they take the best player away, and then they capitalize on it. After they have taken the best player away, after they've taken your best player away, then they capitalize by scoring. And it's shown that way against so many other teams. They held Ponte Vedra to 7 points. They held Creekside to 7 points, and then they shut out Fletcher. This game, they won't shut out St. Augustine, but man, this is a defense that St. Augustine has not faced this year. So this is going to be one major matchup that you don't want to miss. We will be there for that one. The games that we were at, we had great coverage. You can follow us at Duval Sports on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, visit the website, www.duvalsports.com.